Many people live their lives in a way that seems to be dictated by forces outside of their control. They move through their days in a haze of complacency, unaware of the immense power they hold within themselves to shape their lives, challenge their circumstances, and most importantly, grow. But what happens when that growth ceases? When you refuse to learn, to adapt, or to examine your beliefs? This is where a dangerous path begins. We all know someone, perhaps even ourselves at times, who settles into a mindset that resists learning and change. They stop asking the hard questions, stop searching for new answers, and stop striving to better themselves. This is the beginning of stagnation, a refusal to learn. The refusal to learn is not merely about failing to acquire new information. It's not just the absence of education, nor the lack of books read or degrees earned. No, it runs much deeper than that. It's about an attitude, a mentality that leads you to believe that you are somehow finished, that you are done growing, and that the lessons of life no longer apply to you. How many times have you met someone who feels they have learned all there is to know? Someone who believes their experiences are so vast, their knowledge so complete, that they no longer need to listen, question, or grow. This is where real stagnation begins. The act of learning is deeply tied to humility. To learn, we must first admit that we don't know everything. We must be willing to question our beliefs, challenge our assumptions, and listen with openness to ideas and perspectives that differ from our own. The refusal to learn stems from the arrogance of believing we already know it all. And when we carry this belief, we close ourselves off from growth, from progress, and from the potential to live a fuller, richer life. But we must realize something crucial here. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It requires an active effort. It requires us to step outside of our comfort zone, to confront our weaknesses, and to engage with the world in a way that is not only open-minded, but driven by purpose. To grow, you must continuously ask yourself hard questions about who you are, what you value. Those questions might be uncomfortable, but they are essential. They are the door to the next phase of your life, the key to the person you have the potential to become. Learning is a process, not a destination. It's not something you finish and then move on from. It's a lifelong journey, one that you must continue on every single day. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop living fully. Learning isn't just about gathering facts. It's about constantly challenging yourself to see the world in a new way, to reassess your position, and to change your perspective when necessary. A life lived without this constant pursuit of knowledge and growth becomes a life lived in a box made of self-imposed limitations and closed doors. The world around us is in a constant state of flux. The only way to navigate this ever-changing landscape is by staying curious, by remaining open to new experiences and information. There are always new things to discover, new challenges to overcome, new ways to understand the world and our place within it. To reject this is to stagnate. It's to lock yourself in a mental prison where your views become rigid and fixed, and your potential remains untapped. Consider this. If you truly believed that you had no more to learn, no more room for growth, would that not make you intellectually and spiritually impoverished? What would your life look like if you stopped seeking, if you stopped asking questions, if you decided that you were already complete? Would you not over time become less fulfilled, less engaged, less inspired by the world around you? There is something profound and empowering about the act of learning. It keeps us sharp, it keeps us vibrant, it keeps us moving forward, no matter how old we get or how much we think we know. There's another side to this refusal to learn. It's the deep insecurity that lies beneath it. When you refuse to learn, when you believe you have nothing else to gain from other people or from the world, you are often hiding from your own vulnerability. Learning requires you to admit that you don't have all the answers. It requires you to embrace uncertainty and risk. But many people, in their fear, seek comfort in the illusion of certainty. They close themselves off from the world and retreat into their own echo chambers, believing that by surrounding themselves with only familiar ideas and like-minded individuals, they will avoid the discomfort of growth. Yet it is in that discomfort, the stretching of your mental and emotional boundaries, that true transformation happens. The great irony of the refusal to learn is that it's ultimately a refusal to experience life in all its richness and complexity. The world is full of wisdom, and every person you meet has something valuable to teach you, something that could change the course of your life, but only if you're willing to listen. Only if you approach every conversation, every encounter with an openness to learn. It is this humility, this willingness to be changed by the people and experiences around you that makes life meaningful. Without it, life becomes a series of empty moments where nothing new is learned, nothing changes, and nothing grows. It is vital to understand that growth doesn't come from the accumulation of facts or the reinforcement of preconceived notions. Growth comes from the willingness to challenge yourself, to step outside your comfort zone, to ask questions that make you uncomfortable, and to expose yourself to ideas and experiences that test your limits. Life is not something to be taken for granted, and learning is the pathway to a life that is rich, vibrant, and full of possibility. If you think you have nothing more to learn, you are not wise. You are deceiving yourself. The most intelligent people are those who understand that the quest for knowledge is never ending. They understand that wisdom is found not in the things they already know, but in the things they are yet to discover. The refusal to learn is not just an intellectual problem. It's a life problem. It keeps you from becoming the best version of yourself, from stepping into the fullness of your potential. It holds you back from realizing what you are truly capable of, from breaking free of the limitations that you've unknowingly imposed upon yourself. So ask yourself, are you still learning? Are you still growing? Are you actively seeking out new experiences, new ideas, new ways of thinking? If you are, then you are on the right path. If not, it's time to reconsider your approach to life. It's time to break free from the chains of complacency and step into the infinite possibilities that learning brings. Because the moment you stop learning, you stop living. And no one should settle for that. There are moments in life when we must face the uncomfortable truth about ourselves. The moments when we realize that the world does not owe us success, nor does it care for our excuses. Life doesn't reward passivity, nor does it have any sympathy for the person who refuses to take responsibility for their own action. It is a hard pill to swallow, but the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can take charge of our own lives. The inability to take responsibility is one of the most insidious traps we can fall into. When we blame others for our circumstances, when we make excuses for our failures, we surrender our power to change. We surrender our ability to grow. This mindset keeps us stuck in a cycle of victimhood where we believe that we are helpless in the face of life's challenges. And nothing could be further from the truth. Taking responsibility is not about being perfect or never making mistakes. On the contrary, it's about acknowledging that we are the ones in control of how we respond to the world around us. It's about owning our decisions, both good and bad, and learning from them. It is in this ownership, this refusal to blame others, that we unlock the door to personal growth. When you take responsibility, you take back your power. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances, but rather you are an active participant in shaping your own future. The temptation to blame others is strong. It's easy to point the finger, to say it's because of this person or that situation that I am where I am today. It's comfortable even to make excuses, to tell ourselves that we couldn't succeed because of things beyond our control. But the more we lean into that excuse making, the more we rob ourselves of the opportunity to grow. Life does not ask for excuses, and it certainly doesn't reward them. What it rewards is accountability. It rewards those who own their mistakes and learn from them, who take the necessary steps to improve, and who do not pass the responsibility on to others. Think about the people you admire most in life. Do they spend their time blaming others for their failures? Do they make excuses when things don't go their way? No. The people who inspire us are those who take responsibility for their actions regardless of the circumstances. They understand that success is not about avoiding failure, but about how we respond to it. They know that setbacks are a natural part of the process and that how we rise from them defines our character and our potential. They do not waste their energy blaming others or playing the victim. They focus on what they can control: their actions, their decisions, their mindset. Taking responsibility requires strength. It requires humility, the courage to admit when we're wrong, and the wisdom to recognize that we have the power to change. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when it feels like the world is against us. But consider this: when we blame others, we are essentially saying that our fate is in someone else's hands. We are relinquishing our agency, our ability to make choices, and our power to shape our lives. But when we take responsibility, we reclaim that power. We put ourselves in the driver's seat of our own lives, and we accept that the road ahead may be difficult, but we are the ones steering the wheel. The consequences of avoiding responsibility are far-reaching. Not only do we remain stuck in a cycle of helplessness, but we also close ourselves off from the possibility of real change. How can you grow if you're unwilling to acknowledge where you need to improve? How can you move forward if you're constantly looking backward, blaming others for your failures? Growth comes from looking inward, from understanding where you went wrong, and from taking proactive steps to ensure that you do better next time. This requires a level of self-awareness and honesty that many people are unwilling to confront. The truth is that blaming others is a defense mechanism. It's an attempt to shield ourselves from the discomfort of facing our own shortcomings. It's a way to protect our egos from the harsh reality that we are not always right, that we don't always make the best choices, and that sometimes we are responsible for our own struggles. But there is freedom in this realization. There is immense power in admitting that we are the ones responsible for our own lives, for our successes and our failures alike. It is in that freedom that we find the strength to change, to grow, and to become the person we were always meant to be. There is a profound lesson in the idea that success is not determined by our circumstances, but by how we respond to them. When we take responsibility for our lives, we are saying to the world, I am capable of creating change. I am not a victim. I am the architect of my own future. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. It moves us from a place of helplessness to a place of empowerment. It changes the way we approach challenges. Instead of looking for someone or something to blame when things go wrong, we look for solutions. We become problem solvers, not problem makers. We shift from a mindset of limitation to one of possibility, and it is in that shift that true success begins. Taking responsibility is not just about acknowledging your mistakes. It's about taking ownership of your future. It's about deciding in every moment that you will act in accordance with your values regardless of what anyone else does. It's about making choices that align with your goals, even when it's hard, even when it would be easier to blame others, even when the world seems unfair. You see, life is not fair. Noisha, no one ever promised it would be. But what we can control, what we can always control, is how we respond. And it is in that response that our future is shaped. This is where true strength lies, not in avoiding responsibility, not in making excuses, but in embracing accountability with open arms. It is in this embrace that we find our true power. It is when we stop blaming the world for our failures and start owning our mistakes that we begin to transform our lives. We stop being passive participants in our own story and become active creators of it. We stop letting life happen to us and start making life happen for us. The road to success is not easy. It is full of setbacks, failures, and challenges, but it is also full of opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become better. When we take responsibility for our actions, when we stop making excuses and blaming others, we unlock those opportunities. We open the door to the life we've always wanted, one where we are the ones in control, one where we are no longer victims of circumstance, but masters of our own destiny. And that, my friends, is a life worth living.